My name is Eliza Hart, and I'm 31.
Oldest child, quiet fixer, owner of a luxury auto shop where the cars arrive wearing watches. I don't own a suit. I own Torquay wrenches. My hands are scar mapped, my receipts color coded, and somewhere along the way, I mistook dependability for love and invoices for proof. I found out I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding the way you learn about parties you're not meant to know exist, through a post that glitters like a dare. A square of white satin, an invitation with gold beveled letters. Caption: The countdown begins. Can't wait to celebrate with all my loved ones. All her loved ones. Not me. At first, I gave the universe an out. Maybe my invite was lost. Maybe she hadn't sent family ones yet. Maybe the post was just marketing. I had, after all, been underwriting this fairy tale for 6 months. Wired the venue deposit when she and her fiancé were cash timing, covered the catering advance when our parents hesitated, and Venmo'd for a dream dress I still hadn't been allowed to see. I DM'd her. Hey, saw the post. Did my invite get lost? Silence. Then, at 10:34 p.m., Sienna. Hey, was going to talk to you. Guest list is very curated. It's an elegant vibe. Don't take it personally. You just don't fit. I know you'll be happy for me from afar. Love you. Curated. Don't fit. Happy from afar. I read it 3 times until the words stopped vibrating and just glowed there like exit signs. The truth wasn't new. It was simply official. To Sienna, and, if I'm honest, to our parents, I am a mechanic in nice boots, a woman who smells faintly of gasoline even after she scrubs, not respectable like her friends with their glossy business cards, not selfie-ready at rooftop brunch. Never mind that my shop pays better than their titles. Appearance in this house has always been the premium currency. The next morning, I drove to my parents without texting first. I wanted the air unprepared. As I stepped in, I heard it, my mother's voice in the kitchen, low and careful. Well, you know how Eliza is, she said, ladling judgment into the syllables. I don't want her embarrassing me. It's a sophisticated event, Sienna replied. I can't have her showing up like she crawled out from under a car. Dad, the ghost of a backbone. She's family. Sienna. Exactly. She should understand this isn't about her. I pushed the door open. The kettle clicked off like a nervous tick. Sienna went pale. Mom stirred nothing. Dad arranged his face into neutrality. So that's how you see me, I said. My voice didn't crack. That felt like a miracle I had paid for in advance. Sienna straightened as if an unseen photographer had said, Now chin up. Don't take it personally. It's not your crowd. My crowd, I echoed. Define it. You know, she said, exasperated. Corporate people, lawyers, executives, people who actually network. Right, people who make appointments to speak so the day looks full. I never said you were dumb, she hurried. Just rough. Mom sighed the sigh she thinks counts as honesty. You do come off a little unpolished. The clothes, the posture. It's just different, honey. I run a business, I said, steady. I pay 7 salaries on time and in full. I make more than half the people you're inviting. But because I don't sit under fluorescent lights, I don't qualify. It's not about money, Sienna snapped. It's about image. There it was, the thesis statement. You helped a lot, she added quickly, as if praise were a tip left on the table. But this is my day. It has to be perfect. I nodded like I understood a weather report. Got it. Mom rallied with a substitute treat. We'll have a nice dinner after the honeymoon. Just us. That'll be more your style. I smiled. It didn't reach my eyes. You're right. In my world, when someone helps you, you don't pretend they don't exist. I picked up my keys and left before they could shape the air into an apology that wasn't one. Halfway back to the shop, my phone buzzed. Sienna, don't make this a big deal, okay? Love you. Could you send the final cake payment by Friday? XO. I laughed hard enough to pull over. A gull wheeled above the hood as if to check on me. She genuinely thought I'd keep paying, that I'd swallow the insult because I always had. At the shop, the bays were a language I understood. A V12, humming like a secret, the clean click of a diagnostic tool finishing its sentence. I texted back, me. Sorry, wouldn't want to embarrass your vibe by being associated with your wedding. I'm out. Good luck. No emojis. She called immediately. I let it fade to voicemail. Then Mom. Then Dad. That night, I counted 12 missed calls and 0 apologies. Morning brought a chorus of entitlement. Sienna, what do you mean you're not paying? The cake is ordered. Sienna, you can't back out. We're counting on you. Mom, sweetheart, don't be spiteful. It's a misunderstanding. Let's talk. Dad, we raised you better than this.
Not a single I'm sorry. Just invoices disguised as love.
I called Sienna. She answered on the first ring, already at a sprint. Finally. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you're acting irrational. You agreed to the cake. Ooh. I changed my mind, I said. Silence, the expensive kind. What? I'm not paying another dime. You'll figure it out.
You're seriously going to screw me over like this?
Like excluding the person who funded your wedding because she doesn't fit? Like that? That was about image. This is money, she hissed, as if the two had never met. Be an adult, Eliza. I am, I said. I'm matching my money to how I'm treated. You have plenty. You won't even miss it. There it was. Not gratitude, not even entitlement. Greed, in heels. You're right, I said, voice turning clean. I have plenty, and none of it is going to you, ever again. I hung up. The quiet after a slammed door is not silence, it's permission. That afternoon, Owen texted, "Breathe. Proud of you." I could see him in my head, standing in my kitchen, hands on the counter, soft yes in his eyes. I breathed. For once, I let a problem land where it belonged. 2 hours later, a car I knew too well, my mother's, slid into the lot. She came in like a customer who thinks the sign that says, "Please wait here," is decoration. We need to talk, she said, tight smile, tight jaw. I gestured to the office. By all means.
She sat, smoothed her skirt, looked at my desk like it offended her. Your sister is in trouble. She paused for effect. The bakery won't release the cake without the balance. The venue says no entry without full payment. The florist is still waiting. The wedding is in 2 weeks.
That's unfortunate, I said. You have the money.
And yet, I said, smiling, here we are.
Stop being petty. She planned around your commitment. She planned a wedding without me, I said. That means she can plan a budget without me. If you don't help, she'll have to downgrade. She'll be humiliated.
There it is, I said softly. Not about love, about people talking.
It's not just appearances, she said, tone turning righteous. Your sister deserves a beautiful wedding. She deserves exactly what she can afford.
My mother stood, reached for a different weapon, found none.
You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. She left. The door clicked. The shop breathed. I wiped my hands, checked a parts order, and felt the smallest, strangest sensation bloom in my chest. Not victory. Space. The first morning after I said no, the world felt like it had been ironed. No wrinkles of dread. No buzzing phone dragging me out of myself before coffee. Then the buzzing began. Mom, you're being spiteful. Dad, don't make a scene. Sienna, are you serious? The cake is due Friday. I set the phone face down and let the kettle sing. Steam lifted. My chest did too. While I ate toast, my brain staged a quiet audit, a braid of small rescues I'd called family because it hurt less than extraction. The time I covered Sienna's first month of rent when she wanted a nicer building to manifest success. The credit card minimum I paid to stop her score from cratering before a dream promotion. The photographer deposit I floated because it'll explode my brand. Every Venmo caption cute enough to sell a lie. You're the best, just till Friday. Love you. When you list the kindnesses out of order, they look like generosity. In a row, they look like a pattern. By noon, Dad called, voice pitched low like a man reasoning with an elevator. You promised, Eliza. No, I agreed before I knew I was temporary family. He exhaled that sharp, offended air I grew up choreographing my life around. It's not about you. I know, I said. I learned. I hung up and turned my alerts off. The room quieted the way engines do right after you cut the ignition. Heat ticking, systems settling. At 3 p.m., Owen let himself in with the calm of someone who has mastered knocking and entering at once. He set 2 iced coffees on the counter and didn't ask questions he already knew answers to. How's the vibe? He said lightly. Curated, I deadpanned, and the laugh came out of me in one clean piece. He tugged my stool closer with his foot until our knees touched. 2 things. 1, I set up transaction alerts on your business account so surprise generosity can't happen at 2 a.m. 2, Cassie Ward pinged me at work. She's at Revere Events Group now, the umbrella for the atrium, and a couple of those bougie venues. I blinked. Cassie? Your ex, Cassie? Professional ping, he said. She saw my name on a vendor ops thread and wrote, Small world. Tell Eliza, payment clears or service doesn't. No exceptions. Then she added a note about recusing herself if your sister's file crossed her desk. Policy, I said, not personal.
Exactly. I told her you'd appreciate clarity.
I did, more than he knew. Because clarity is the opposite of whatever I grew up inside. That evening, Sienna attempted diplomacy. Sienna. Coffee? I don't want bad blood. I waited an hour. Me. Coffee isn't a currency. Sienna. Fine. Can we talk anyway?
I went. Not because I owed it, but because curiosity can be a witness too.
She was already at Juniper and Konu, tapping her manicured nail against a ceramic cup like a metronome for nerves. She did the soft smile I've watched her practice in front of front-facing cameras. I hate this, she began.
This? I asked.
You being mad? I'm not mad, I said. I'm awake.
Her jaw twitched. If I invite you now, she said carefully, will you help? You know, finish the cake, the florals, just the last bits.
There it was. The invitation was a coupon.
I don't pay cover to enter the room where I'm not wanted, I said.
That's not fair. Fair is paying suppliers for work they perform, I replied. Fair is including the person who funds the party.
Her eyes flashed. You're impossible. You have the money.
And my money now aligns with respect, I said. They travel together. She leaned back, frustration lacquered over hurt.
You're really going to let me fail?
No, I said. You're going to let you fail if you keep spending on image instead of paying bills.
She went quiet. I could see the arithmetic knocking on the inside of her skull, asking to be let in. She didn't open.
When I stood, she grabbed for the last tool in her kit. I never judged your job, she said, gesturing vaguely as if engines were a rumor.
You judge the suit I don't wear, I said, gentle in the way you are with a dog who doesn't know why the fence finally closed. Same difference. I left a tip for the barista and no tip for the story.
The next 2 days were still like a storm holding its breath. It wasn't peace, it was planning.
Mom tried nostalgia next. 3 photos from when Sienna and I shared a bunk bed and fought over stickers. Mom, remember? Me. I do. We were children.
On Wednesday, a mutual cousin slid into my messages. Cousin Liv, why is Sienna posting about betrayal? Did you really pull the cake? Me. I stopped paying for a wedding I'm not invited to. Cousin Liv, oh, that tracks. The validation was small and strangely nourishing, like a handful of grapes. That night I worked late. 2 Porsches and a Maserati with a phantom rattle. I washed my hands until the grease loosened and my fingerprints returned. On the way home, I passed the atrium, the venue with the glass skeleton I'd already paid twice to hold up. Through the windows, I saw a floral install for someone else's rehearsal dinner. Men in black shirts lifting branches like choreography, a clipboard glinting, a woman with a sleek ponytail checking line items. For a breath, I imagined Sienna's day the way she built it, gilded, immaculate, curated. Then I pictured the invoice totals. Then I pictured Cassie's note again. Payment clears or service doesn't. It didn't feel like a threat. It felt like gravity. Thursday morning, my mom tried a different key. We're family, she texted. Family helps family. I wrote, family includes me, or family pays without me. Pick one. She didn't answer. By afternoon, my shop phone rang. Not my cell, my shop. The line we reserve for strangers with problems we can actually solve.
Is this Eliza Hart? A woman asked. Her voice carried the calm of someone who folds crisis into 3 bullet points.
It is.
This is Marta from Bellamy Bakes. We're calling to confirm that we won't be delivering a 5-tier cake to the atrium on Saturday without receipt of the remaining balance by 3 p.m. today. We've reached the client and have not received payment.
I'm not the client, I said.
I'm aware, she replied. Your number is listed as alternate contact. I've removed it.
Thank you, I said, and meant it so entirely I almost laughed. I hung up, stared at the wall clock for a long minute, and then texted Owen. Vendors don't care about curated, they care about cleared.
Exactly, he wrote back. And you didn't make any of this happen. You just stopped cushioning.
At 5, Dad called again, voice lower, meaner. You're punishing your sister.
I'm protecting my future, I said. Those are different sports.
You won't sleep at night if this explodes. I will, I said. I slept fine last night. Silence. Then the old threat dressed as concern. People will talk. They already do, I said. Now they'll tell a new story.
That evening I put my phone in the cutlery drawer, somewhere absurd enough to stop my hand from finding it. I cooked dinner. Owen came by. We ate on the floor because we could. He asked what was for dessert. I said, not a 5-tier cake? And we both laughed long enough to become the kind of tired that feels earned. Before bed, I wrote a sentence on a sticky note and pressed it to the mirror.
I don't fund rooms that erase me.
I brushed my teeth and watched the words fog, then clear. When the wedding day came, I woke to sunlight, not sirens. The shop was closed. My hands were clean.
I made coffee, sat, waited for the sky to make its own choices. At 11:27 a.m., Mom called. I let it ring.
At 11:42, Dad, ignored.
At 12:03, Cousin Liv,
You're not going to believe this. The venue just kicked them out.
I stared, then set the phone down like it was heavy with someone else's lesson.
I didn't text back. I poured more coffee instead. The world kept turning without me pushing. At 12:10 p.m., the texts started piling up, like popcorn in a microwave you never meant to start.
Mom, call me right now.
Dad, you've gone too far. Sienna, the venue canceled. Are you happy now?
I sipped my coffee and watched the messages arrive in batches, breathless and accusatory. Outside, the city moved like nothing was happening. Delivery trucks, traffic lights, an old man walking his golden retriever.
Inside, my phone buzzed like a guilty conscience.
Then came Cousin Liv again. They locked the doors. Guests were literally standing outside. The staff said, no final payment, no entry.
I heard your mom arguing with a woman in a blazer. Everyone's saying your sister's melting down.
A woman in a blazer. That caught my attention.
At 12:24, Owen texted, Just FYI, Cassie's on site at the atrium today. She's the vendor liaison covering the weekend rotation. She said there was an incident.
She asked me not to tell you specifics, but sounds like your family tried to name drop you to get in.
I stared at the phone, then laughed, quietly, almost kindly.
Of course they did. They'd spent years pretending I wasn't family, until it became convenient to claim me again. By 1 p.m., Sienna called. I answered.
What?
Her voice came through like glass under stress. You think this is funny?
Depends what this is. The wedding is ruined, she shrieked. The venue won't let us in. The cake's not here. The florist says we didn't confirm. It's all falling apart.
That's awful, I said evenly. Did you try paying them? You knew we didn't have the rest of the money, she snapped. You were supposed to help. No, I said. You assumed.
You let me fail.
No, I corrected, calm now. I stopped fixing what you broke.
Silence. Then a sound, like she'd covered the receiver to muffle a sob.
Why couldn't you just help? She whispered. After everything we've been through? I looked out the window. Across the street, a woman was loading groceries into her trunk. The world's ordinary rhythm kept going, immune to family catastrophes.
After everything you've done, I said quietly. You used me. You laughed at me. You built your image on my wallet. I didn't ruin your wedding, Sienna. You did. I just stopped underwriting the illusion.
Her breath caught. You think you're better than us now? I think I finally know who us is, I said. I hung up before she could respond. At 2:40 p.m., a message from Owen blinked through. Cassie just sent me a note for you. She said, Tell Eliza I enforce policy, not punishment. I smiled faintly. That sounded like Cassie, precise, detached, but oddly humane. For a flash, I remembered the first time I'd met her, long before Owen and I. She'd been auditing a regional auto expo, clipboard in hand, asking every vendor the same question. What's your margin between appearance and reality? She'd been talking about branding, but I'd never forgotten it. By sunset, the atrium's fiasco had gone viral within our circle of relatives. Someone posted an Instagram story of guests standing outside the venue holding pastel gift bags, captioned, No one told us weddings were BYO chairs. Another tagged the catering company. If anyone finds my salmon plate, tell it I miss it. By 6 p.m., the hashtag #HeartWeddingDisaster had surfaced on local gossip pages. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt weightless, like someone had untied a rope from my ankle without asking for thanks. At 6:45, Mom called again. I answered this time because curiosity can be kinder than closure. Are you proud of yourself? She said, voice trembling between rage and shame. No, I said softly, but I am free. You humiliated this family. No, I said. You did that yourselves, when you decided image mattered more than integrity. She inhaled sharply. We didn't think you'd really pull out. I didn't pull out, I said. I just stopped pretending we had a deal. People will talk, she said again, voice cracking. They've always talked, I replied. This time, they'll just be telling the truth. She went quiet. The only sound was someone crying softly in the background. Dad, maybe. Then a smaller voice. Your sister is devastated. I'm sure she is. She says you hate her. I don't, I said. I just finally stopped helping her hurt herself. There was nothing left to say. I ended the call.
That night, I walked to the pier near my apartment. The air smelled of salt and quiet.
I stood there for a long time, watching the city light reflected on the water, thinking about the word failure. Sienna thought the wedding falling apart was failure. Mom thought public embarrassment was failure. But to me, failure had always been silence, pretending everything was fine while bleeding money and dignity under the table. This time I had failed differently, out loud, on purpose. And it was the cleanest failure I'd ever known. The next morning, Cousin Liv sent a single message. They moved the wedding to Aunt Diane's backyard. Folding chairs. Costco cake. Everyone looked miserable. Sienna didn't even take photos. I typed, "I hope the vows were honest," then deleted it. Some truths don't need captions. I made myself another coffee, sat at my kitchen counter, and opened my laptop. Work emails, parts orders, a quote request from a collector in Chicago. Life, as usual, waited politely for me to return. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel guilty for choosing it. The following week, my phone became a museum of unfinished apologies. Mom, let's start over. Dad, you've made your point. Enough. Sienna, you don't understand how hard this has been for me. Each message tried to pull me back into the same choreography. I'd fix, they'd forget, and we'd all pretend it was love. I didn't reply. I learned something strange in that silence. Peace doesn't roar. It hums. Like the low idle of a car that finally runs right after years of misfires. A month later, I was under a 911 Carrera when Owen stopped by the shop, holding takeout and a manila envelope. He crouched beside the lift, grinning. "Paperwork from Cassie," he said. "She wanted me to give you this in person." Inside was an invoice statement. The atrium's final accounting for Sienna's canceled event. Every unpaid charge listed clearly, every item marked, closed, client default. At the bottom, a note in neat handwriting. Policy applied as written. No exceptions. I hope your family lands softer next time. CW. I exhaled through my nose, a strange mixture of relief and melancholy. Cassie always had good penmanship, Owen said carefully. Good boundaries too, I said, and he laughed. He handed me a carton of noodles. You know, she said something else, he added. She told me, your girlfriend's the first person I've met who understands accountability without cruelty. I smiled faintly. That's because I've lived too long in the opposite. By midsummer, the noise died down. My parents switched tactics from guilt to politeness, the way people do when they realize the bank has closed, but they might still need customer service. Every text from Mom now started with, "Hope you're doing well," before sliding toward, "Your sister's having a hard time adjusting to married life." Sienna's new husband, apparently, was kind enough, but financially allergic to realism. They'd already postponed their honeymoon, downsized their apartment, and, ironically, sold the designer furniture she once bragged about in Instagram captions. None of that made me happy. It just made sense. Gravity is fair that way. The first time Mom called without an agenda was 3 months later. "Eliza," she said softly, "your father and I want to see you. Dinner. Just us." I waited before answering. "Public place?" "Yes," she said. "Neutral ground." We met at Daylight Cafe. Too many plants. Too much sincerity in the menu font. Dad was already seated when I arrived, studying the specials board like it might absolve him. Mom started first. "I'm sorry your feelings were hurt." "Try again," I said gently. She swallowed, then nodded once. "I'm sorry we used your money without gratitude. I'm sorry we spoke about you like you weren't family. And I'm sorry for what happened with Sienna's wedding." "Thank you," I said. "That's a start." Dad cleared his throat. "We don't expect you to forget, just don't cut us off completely." "I won't," I said. "But here's what changes." I slid a single sheet of paper across the table, a list, handwritten and simple. No loans. Gifts are small and named gifts. No access to my cards. No surprises. Ask in one text. No ambush calls. My presence isn't payment. Mom stared at it as though the ink might rearrange itself into something less direct. Dad read it twice, jaw tight, but understanding the currency of written words. Finally, he sighed. "And what do we get in return?" "A daughter who shows up without resentment," I said. "And a future where I don't disappear." Mom folded the page carefully, like she was tucking a receipt for something she might want to return later. "I can try," she whispered. "That's all I asked," I said. That night, back in my apartment, I found a text from Sienna. Just one line. "I heard you met with Mom and Dad. Thanks for not making it worse." I typed, "I never had to."
You did that yourself, but deleted it. Instead, I wrote, I hope you find a way to be proud without debt.
No reply.
Autumn arrived. My shop expanded into the lot next door. I hired 2 more techs. Owen started teaching part-time at the community college. We spent Sunday mornings driving the coast in silence, the kind that doesn't ask for proof.
Sometimes when we passed the atrium, I'd glance at the glass building and wonder if my sister ever walked by it too, if she thought about the day her perfect image cracked, not from cruelty, but from consequences.
Last week, Cassie emailed Owen a photo from a vendor showcase. It was of a dessert table labeled Integrity Tastes Sweeter.
I laughed harder than I meant to.
Boundaries are funny that way. Once you learn to use them, they start flavoring everything.
Tonight, my phone buzzed with a picture from my niece. She was in the kitchen, covered in flour, holding up a lopsided cake. We made our own, the caption read, and it didn't fall apart.
I stared at it for a long moment, then smiled. Progress doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes it shows up as a crooked cake that still stands. I turned off my phone, leaned against the counter, and whispered the line I'd once taped to my mirror.
I don't fund rooms that erase me.
This time it wasn't a defense, it was a promise kept. The kettle clicked off, steam curled, and for the first time in years, I felt entirely, quietly free.